Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Traister, and I am here today with Dan Dalton, one of the founders of Dalton and Tomich. Dan has helped local churches leave the denomination and also keep their property. So, Dan, what should a local RCA church know about departing from the Reformed Church of America if it wants to keep its property?
Hi, Emily. This is a great question. The Reformed Church is going through what a lot of churches have already gone through and are going through today. And that is a division within their church in terms of what the theology of the church will be. And they've reached that point, at least in 2018, they reached the point of deciding that they can't live together anymore. There's about 1,000 Reformed churches in the denomination across the country, most in the Northeast and in Michigan, and then there's some out in California. But for the most part, the Reformed churches are trying to decide among themselves where they should be as a denomination. So in 2018, a group called the Vision 2020 group was announced, and they were to evaluate the issue. And they were given a charge of looking at three things. What would the Reformed Church look like if it split, if there was just a schism in the denomination and churches went their own way, and how should it be handled? And the second one is what would the church look like if it reformed itself, and what would that reformation be, and where should the denomination end up after its reform? The third area is should the denomination stay together, and what does that look like? So this diverse group and this Vision 2020 group got together as a group. They built trust among themselves along discussion. They then invited discussion among themselves, and then invited open to congregations throughout the United States in terms of those three particular issues. And at the end of the day, they issued a report last year when there was going to be a general synod suggesting that the denomination should have a process to separate, allowing local churches to leave the denomination, either become independent or join another denomination, because there was just too much division within the church. And they decided that would be the best path forward for the Reformed Church of America. So that conference, the General Synod, was adjourned because of COVID. It was rescheduled until October of 2020. That was canceled. And it's been rescheduled again until June of 2021. In all likelihood, that will be canceled. It's not available under the bylaws of the Reformed Church of America. You can't have a virtual conference. It has to be in person. So you're really looking at 2022 as the year when this General Synod will meet, and this recommendation on how to separate will be adopted, evaluated, discussed, debated. But at the end of the day, the parameters of the discussion is going to be, how do you allow local churches to leave graciously? And what that means is, how do they leave the denomination and keep their property? So there's a lot of parts to this, and I'm just going to refer to my notes when I go forward and kind of explain what to think about and what the Vision 2020 team thought about when they looked at this particular issue. So with respect to the financial relationship that a local church has with the denominations, churches who decide to leave would be allowed to leave and retain their property and other assets, and would be solely responsible for any liabilities. So if the local church has any loans, has any debt, has any liens on their property, that would be theirs. It would not be flowed through to the denomination. That not only is it debt, but it's insurances like healthcare, it'd be pensions, and anything else, any liability whatsoever that the church has would leave with it. It would no longer be part of the denomination if the local church could no longer pay. So that would flow through them. The classis, which is kind of like the local area that the Reformed Church is in, would allow local churches to leave as long as they're in compliance with several requirements. And there was an agreement that the regional synods, which are above the classis, would not interfere with the local church to leave. So the local church alone would make that decision whether they're going to leave or not. And the classis or the synod could not keep a church or its assets from leaving under this particular proposal that's being debated. So if the local church wants to leave, they can leave. On the flip side, every local church has to go through this whole process on its own. So a group of churches couldn't get together and say, we want to leave and form our own denomination. They could certainly form their own denomination or their own connection, but each church would have to go through on its own evaluation in terms of how to leave. So these local churches, when they do leave, they'd be invited to participate with the ministries of the Reformed Church, like the missionary group or the global mission partnerships. And they'd be asked to give 2 years notice of their leaving prior to withdrawing from their commitments to those mission groups. They'd be required to continue to pay all assessments for a 2-year period of time from providing notice to the General Synod that they're leaving. So this is kind of a point of contention within the report. Some in the report suggested it should be 2 years from the time that the church actually leaves the denomination. Others in the report suggested that it'll be 2 years from the time they provide notice that they're leaving the denomination. But in any event, there's a 2-year financial commitment to continue paying your assessments to the General Synod so that the Reformed Church as a denomination doesn't collapse. It allows them time to adjust budgets and the whole 9 yards during that point in time, where they know where the local church is going to end up. Where applicable, local churches and classes would maintain their savings in the church growth fund of the Reformed Church. So if you have deposited funds into that particular entity, you would be encouraged to leave your funds in there. And if you want to take them out, again, it would be 2 years notice to that particular agency that you would be taking those funds out before you could actually take them out as well. You'd also be required to pay off your loans. So if your classis or your regional synod provide a loan to the local church to build, for example, or to remodel, or for anything else whatsoever, the local church would have to pay those loans back prior to leaving. Again, another point of contention within the Vision 2020 report is whether they would have to do it prior to leaving or within a certain period of time after leaving. That will all be decided at the General Synod, most likely in 2022. So at the end of the day, the Vision 2020 group has made a decision, a recommendation that there should be separation within the church, that the members, the body can't remain together anymore. Very similar to the United Methodist Church, Presbyterian USA, the Episcopal Church, the Lutheran Church, the United Church of Christ, a lot of other denominations. They just can't live together anymore. And that's okay. And the Reformed churches provide a path for local churches to leave, become independent churches. And they can decide whether they're going to remain independent or join another denomination. And they've also provided a financial method for them to leave as well. So this is a process that this group determined to be fair. Whether it will be approved is another story. It's only yet to be determined. But if you are a Reformed church now, you're thinking about leaving, or you're thinking about the future of your local church within the denomination, now's the time to have that discussion within your congregation. And now's the time to consult a professional as to how to best protect your property moving forward in the future. And we can certainly do that. And we've done that with lots of churches throughout the United States. And we'd love to work with your church.
Thank you for your insight, Dan. If you are watching this video and you have any questions, or if we could be of any service to you, please give our office a call or send us an email. Thank you.
Thank you.